Good afternoon. It is noontime on Friday, and we're back on Fridays for Fertile Soil. I hope you're all having a good day because, boy, the sun is shining. There's a few clouds coming in, but it is a gorgeous, gorgeous day, not too hot. So it's just right. Well, many blessings to everybody today. I hope you're counting them because it's a good day. Well, we're going to be talking about two herbs today. I chose two. Neither one of them are mentioned in the Bible. One is connected. The other one, not so much, just good for our souls. So I'm going to start with one that maybe many of you don't have in your garden, or maybe even never heard of. And it is called Costmary. It's an old-fashioned herb that many people do not have in their gardens, but it's a good one to rediscover. I'd be happy to share some with you if you're interested. This is Costmary. Just coming out and touching it and smelling it is awesome. Now, Costmary, I'm going to talk to you about how it grows, but if you can see that where I have it planted, it's half sun, half shade. Like many herbs, it prefers sun most. But the cool thing about it is if it's planted in the shade, it still does well. As you can see, it's doing fine. It just won't flower. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when I'm seated. Seated? Is that a word? When I'm sitting down is what I meant. And the other herb we're going to be talking about is chamomile or chamomile. It's pronounced both ways, and it depends on my mood, how I say it. But chamomile is in perennial, the one that I'm growing currently in my garden. There's two kinds. There's an annual and there's a perennial, and we'll talk about that. The perennial is really cool because you can kind of train it. So here in between my stepping stones here, this is chamomile, and you can cut it down and keep it cut, and it grows between cracks. And then you can also let it grow big and wild, and that's where you get the fun flowers from. If you keep trimming it, you won't get the flowers. I like to let it grow. It gets kind of lanky and falls over, but it really adds something to your garden. I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh, that looks so cool." And it's just growing right here. It grows flat, has a bunch of little flowers on it, and we're going to talk about that. Can't wait to get my hair cut. It's coming up next week sometime. So, well, we're talking about two herbs today. Again, I'm going to reiterate: Costmary and chamomile. I'm going to talk about Costmary first. I showed it to you up in my garden. It can get about 4 foot high. If it's in the sun, might get a little taller, but not a whole lot. And when it's in the sun, it does get little yellow button flowers on the top. Very insignificant. They're pretty small. Bible leaf is the nickname for it. This is a hunk of the Costmary that I cut off. Now, it does not propagate by seed. It propagates by just taking cuttings. So as you can see, that's the root. And it is not invasive at all. It can get big, but it's so easy just to pull some out and to start some. Now, Costmary smells so good. It's a balsam. That's one of the other nicknames for it. It has a balsam scent, a minty scent, a sweet scent, all rolled into one. Now the really cool thing and why it's called Bible leaf, it's one of the folklores of Costmary. Back in, let's say, colonial times, when they were going to church, the women would go out into their gardens and they would make themselves a little bouquet to take to church. And might not be good for you pastors out there to know this, or maybe you already know the folklore about it, but they would make little bouquets and they would always make sure there was Costmary in their bouquet, because Costmary, the Bible leaf, will help wake them up when they're getting sleepy and tired from the long sermons. They would even take nibbles of the leaf and just hold it in their hands and smell it. I have a little bit with some lavender. Lavender and Costmary go together very well together. Makes fun little bouquets. So, Costmary, Bible leaf, and the other big thing that they did with these Costmary leaves was they made bookmarks. Now, I cannot find my Costmary dried book leaf that I've already dried, and I've had it for a couple years. It's in one of my books and I don't know where it's at. But just pressing this flat in a book and let it dry about 2 weeks. Keep it nice and flat. It's a great bookmarker. And these leaves keep that scent for years. I'm telling you, years and years and years. It smells divine. It's related to tansy. It's in the chrysanthemum family. Let me see what else I can tell you about Costmary. Oh, the other name for it is ale cost. They used to use it when they made beer and ales. They would use Costmary in with the hops to make that. I thought it was probably pretty good. It has a couple other nicknames. Costmary. Costmary comes from the Virgin Mary. And let's see, it's propagated. I told you how. It is a perennial. Comes up every year. And like I said, when you have it in the sun, it gets flowers on it. When you have it in the shade, it won't get flowers on it, but it pushes everything to the leaves. And I have mine in that part shade, part sun, because I really don't grow it for the flowers. I grow it because I do like to keep the leaves and dry them. It has some medical properties to it. It's astringent and has antiseptic properties. And it used to be used for dysentery, which is a lung infection, so it's really good for your lungs. It's good for constant pains in the head. Nicholas Culpeper wrote about that. He's the herbal guy from the 1700s. And they used it for your head, bruises, itching. It also is said to be a natural insect deterrent. So it's really good. I dry it, crush it up. So when I dry some of my herbs that deter insects, and I do mix it with my tansy, because tansy is really good to keep the ants away. Mix them all together and it does help deter insects. You can use it to wash some wounds and burns if you get that. I've never tried that, to tell you the truth. The folklore of it, again, Bible leaf and the carrying of the bouquet of the Costmary is said to bring you good luck. And it makes sweet washing water. So if you soak some of the Costmary in just a bucket of water and use that to rinse your hands when you're gardening. It makes sweet washing water. It smells so good to just throw that Costmary in your bucket of water. And if you use it to wash your hands or just wash your face in the summertime to get some nice coolness, it's very gentle. So it's not harmful at all. So I think that Costmary is a good addition to any herb garden. And since it is such an old historic herb, and I don't see much of it, even at the greenhouses. I haven't seen much of it around. I have some. I've had it for probably over 20 years. So I would be glad to share a piece with anybody who's interested. Now we're going to talk about chamomile or chamomile. I really enjoy this herb. It's such a calming herb. It's very gentle. Now I want to talk about the two, there's several different varieties, but I'm going to talk about the two main ones that I know about, and that is German chamomile and Roman chamomile. The German comes up by seed, easier by seed. It propagates by seed. It's an annual. That is the one that they use mostly for the medical properties. The Roman chamomile, and they are related. They're not far apart from each other, but the Roman chamomile is the perennial. I grow because it's easy. Comes up every year. Like I showed you between my stepping stones, it can be trained into a yard. It's also called lawn chamomile. I'm going to say chamomile and chamomile the whole way through I'm talking because both of them are correct. Although, I don't know, somebody might disagree with me. So the Roman is a member of the Asteraceae family, which is in the daisy family. I did have a piece of it here so that I could show you that flower really close. You can see why it's in the daisy family. The Roman, that is the annual, it also smells like apples, like sweet apples, or I like to call it bubble gum. It reminds me of bubble gums. Bazooka bubble gum, you know, those little packs you used to open. It's what it smells like to me. Some people think it smells more like apples. It's very sweet, very soothing to smell. Great to walk on when I'm walking over there and I'm walking through it. The stems get really long. It does like the sun, grows best in the sun. This is kind of I have some in sun, some in part shade. Does better though when there's lots of sunshine. It blooms from early June, maybe even the end of May. It starts the whole way through September. So it keeps going and going and going and blooming the whole time. The same way with the annual, the German. It also will keep blooming about the same time. It's very self-seeding. So it's not an annual, but it will come up a little out of control. So it comes up everywhere when you grow the annual. But then if you have a hard winter, sometimes those little plants don't come back over the winter, so you have to buy new seeds and plant them. It's also been called mayweed, balder, Norse god of light. It has German roots to it, the German chamomile. So, and it was revered. The Saxons, which are part of that German tradition there, or roots, the German chamomile was one of their 9 sacred herbs that the ancient Saxons loved and used very much. So when you are harvesting the chamomile, you're just popping those heads off. I need to harvest my chamomile, and I didn't harvest it because I was kind of waiting to show you some of the blooms. This one here is a double bloom. I don't know why that happens, but it's kind of a cool, very, very different than this one. It's all from the same plant though. So I come through, I pick all those flower heads off, I lay them out onto either a paper towel or a paper plate, and I like to shake it around. One of the main reasons that I like to shake it around on a paper plate or a paper towel is because for some reason little tiny bugs like to hang in those little tiny petals. So I'm a little funny about drying the bugs because I don't want to drink or eat those bugs. And they're called, I can't remember what they're called. They just look like a line. But they're really, really tiny. They hang out in those flowers. So when I lay them out on a paper plate, I shake the plate, and then I remove the flowers, and those little bugs are in the bottom of the paper plate or on the paper towel. Then I just let them lay and let them dry. And they do take probably 2 to 3 weeks because they're a little thicker, the flowers. The flowers are what is mostly used for your teas, your baths, your washes. There's a lot of medical properties in chamomile. They have lots of volatile essentials oils in them. The blue chamomile essential oil, if you've never used it, I know I have friends out there who are really into their essential oils. That's one of my favorites. It is so calming and so soothing and so restful. It rests your mind, it puts you at peace, it makes your body just relax. And I noticed that the chamomile does that more for me personally than the lavender that I've talked about before. Chamomile tea, which you can buy readily anywhere in the grocery stores. You can use that if you're looking online for some recipes on what to do with dried chamomile flowers. You can use the tea bags just as good as anything that you might grow in your garden. And if you don't have a garden and you want to try some things, buy some tea bags. It works. It's helpful for babies. It's so gentle for babies and young children. You can make a tea. Throw a bunch of tea bags in the bathtub. That's good. It helps calm colic in babies. It just helps them with toothaches. It's very gentle. It will not hurt children at all. It helps relieve acid indigestion, get you ready for bed at night, helps relieve symptoms of the cold and the flu, and it helps relieve toothaches in adults as well. Helps with tension. There's so many things. It helps with birds and scalds. If you get sunburn, take a bath, throw some chamomile tea bags in your bath water, sit back and just relax. It'll help soothe your sunburn as well. It is very popular in many different places around the world. It's used a lot. So most of it is the blossoms that you use. When you dry your blossoms, make sure that they are thoroughly dried out and crispy and crunchy before you store them away into a jar. I keep mine in a jar. It keeps all the moisture out, and you can keep them for a year. Sometimes I keep them for 2 years, but I usually use it quick enough that it's gone in a year. You can make your chamomile tea ahead, just like you make sun tea, regular tea. Make your tea ahead, put it in the refrigerator, store it. You can use it to wash your face, and give your babies a bath. drink it, whatever you choose. It actually is also great for blonde hair. My hair is no longer blonde. There's so much gray in here that my emoji gives me gray hair when I do it. But it's great for blonde hair. Make a tea bag, make a wash after you take a shower and dry your hair. I mean, don't dry your hair first. Rinse your hair. Take your tea of chamomile and put it over your head and rinse it through, and it is great for blonde hair. Do it a couple times, you'll notice a difference. It's actually a little better than using the lemons. We used to use lemons when we were kids to try to brighten our hair up in the summertime. Make it a little stronger than usual, but it really works nicely. Chamomile has many, bugs are attacking me today, many fun folklore facts. So I am going to jump to that because there's so many, I can't remember them all. So I have them here on a paper, so it's really, really cool. Of course, it's an ancient herb, so it's been mentioned many times, hundreds of years ago with Hippocrates and Plinius and all them. And it has a nickname of physician's herb because of its ability to have positive effects to all the plants growing around it as well. It's a magnet for bees and butterflies and other beneficial insects in your garden, so that's a really great thing. It's gentle. I said that. It's perfect for kids. It's great to give them a bunch of chamomile or give them a cup of chamomile tea before a car ride when you're going on a trip somewhere. Keeps them a little calm. In the Tale of Peter Rabbit, Peter's mom gives him chamomile tea after he gets back home because he was all stressed out and exhausted from running from Mr. McGregor, from going in his garden. Let's see. Chamomile has the power of strength in difficult situations, and it's been placed in many dream pillows or bed pillows that you put, that you can sew a little bag and put lavender. You can put chamomile in there and put it in your pillow. It'll give you good dreams. In the language of flowers, it means I admire your courage, or may all your wishes come true. Chamomile incense is an attraction for love, and it helps you rest as well. If you grow chamomile in your garden, it is said to attract money. And it pairs well with lemon balm to help you sleep. So you can make a tea, chamomile and lemon balm go really good together to make a tea. And during the Civil War, it was actually used for treating soldiers with their upset stomachs and gout and fever. They gave them chamomile tea. Let's see here. It can also be used as a natural dye. There's a dyer's chamomile. It's a different variety than the two I told you, but it gives a good yellow dye. It's used for healing amulets. Make a bunch of it and carry it around for healing properties. And it's used in herbal magic a lot. So for meditation, I think it's because it's so calming and it just helps you focus. Let's see here. It makes you brave, represents energy, and energy in adversity. So I don't think that anybody that I know of doesn't like chamomile. The way it smells, the way it makes you feel, it really does work. And in the world today, we could use a little more calmness, a little more beauty in our lives. Now, one thing, I put a video up about a half hour or so ago. Chamomile tea is delicious, for one. It's really good. Now, I have been making, and I will admit, I usually make this over the winter, chamomile latte, And I made it a couple years ago, and I actually forgot about it because I haven't made it for a while, and this was a good excuse for me to make it. It is so delicious and easy to make. You can use regular milk. I used almond milk. You just warm it up with 2 chamomile tea bags, 2 cups of milk, 2 chamomile tea bags, a hunk of cinnamon, throw in a couple cloves. Now this cinnamon I will use a couple times. I will not warm this cinnamon up and just toss it. Cinnamon lasts a long time. So warm it up on the stove till little bubbles are around the edge of your milk, and turn it off. Let it steep for about 5 minutes. Oh, don't forget that vanilla extract in there. 2 teaspoons of that. Then you can drink it hot or cold. And I use one of those milk frothers. There's a little zzz. I use that all the time in my coffee. But it's great. And this latte, I drunk one that was hot, but you can also drink it cold. Throw some ice in there and you have an iced chamomile latte. So good, so easy. Now I want to talk a little bit here of our Bible. Of course I gotta get that in here. God's the one that gives us all these gifts and gives the gift of the garden, and everything is, the garden is in here for so long ago. Isaiah. I want to talk a little bit about Isaiah with you. The prophet Isaiah was a giant of Jewish history. He was the Shakespeare of Hebrew literature. And the New Testament quotes him more than any other prophets combined. No other biblical author can match his rich vocabulary and his use of imagery as he writes. So, in Isaiah, it can be a little convoluted on how you read it. But towards the end, and I'm going to talk to you in chapters 50, 61, but in those older or higher numbered chapters in Isaiah, he's actually talking about his views of the future, maybe a couple warnings here and there, but he's talking about the future. And our future is always full of hope. So I'm going to read to you chapter 58, verse 11. This is all with a garden in it. Should have told you that. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places, and make your bones strong, and you shall be like watered garden, like a spring of water. And that is from chapter 58. Excuse me. Then we're going to turn the page to chapter 61, also verse 11. So those are both verse 11s. Easy to remember. This is good news. This is really from the good news. For as the earth brings forth its shoots, and as a garden causes what is sown in it to spring up, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring up before all the nations. Good stuff right there. So think about that a little bit. Our gardens ground us, and next week I have this idea. We are going to do Christmas in July. I know, don't moan. Don't want to talk about Christmas, but this is going to be kind of fun. Hopefully I can pull it off and make it fun. Christmas in July in the herb garden. So I'm not going to tell you what herbs we're talking about. Maybe you can kind of guess something, but it's going to be Christmas in July next Friday. This Sunday will be our second Sunday that we have live. worship services, you can come to St. John's, Columbia, 10:15 in the morning. We're also going to have it on Facebook Live, and then I'll upload it into YouTube, so it'll be there too. We want people to be safe. We want you to keep your distance if you're not comfortable coming to church. If you come, wear that face mask, and it'll be good. So I'm going to, there goes the FedEx truck, never know when you're doing live. I am going to end today with a prayer. Cultivate joy, Holy Spirit, and make my heart into your garden. Dig deeply, dig boldly, dig freely. I resolve to put nothing in the way of your cultivation. Weed and prune my heart as you desire. Water and cultivate my soul as you desire. Tend my heart as you please. Cultivate love, peace, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, poverty of life, chastity of heart, and obedience of mind. And prune my life that I may prove to be your disciple. Amen. Well, I hope you had a little fun, learned a little something about chamomile today and Costmary. And I hope to see you guys again next week for Christmas in July in my garden. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.